Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on coaching certification. We are delighted to have you here with us today and very much looking forward to providing hopefully some good insight for you and then also responding to your questions. Because of the number of the people on this call, while we would prefer to unmute you, we do have to keep everyone on mute. So the way to ask questions is to type them in. On the control panel on your screen with the GoToWebinar is a place where you can type in questions. We will monitor this as we continue through today's call, and so happy to be responsive to just whatever you want to know and answer those as we're going through the conversation today. Prior to jumping into the content, I'd like to give you just a few insights. First off, one thing I'd like to share with you is that those of you that are on this call and are staying here to get this information, we do have a special offer for you, and that will be coming to you at the end of today's call. So hoping you're hanging around for that. In addition to that, this call, the recording of it, will be loaded on our YouTube channel, so it will be available to you after the fact as well. When I first started exploring coaching, it was the result of an experience that perhaps some of you have had. Maybe you've had someone say to you, "Oh gosh, you would be really good at coaching. You should be a coach." Or perhaps you've done a presentation or some sort of training program, or maybe just in your workplace, had people come to you and say, "Hey, will you coach me? Would you be my coach?" That was what led me to find out what coaching was. I thought, okay, when you hear something often enough, it has you asking that question, okay, what does this mean? What is this about? So I started researching coaching, probably like what many people do. And in researching coaching, I thought, oh, well, goodness, I do this already. This is what I'm doing. Sure, I can do this. I can do coaching. And I did. And then I got training. And I found out what I didn't know. That is one of the answers I hear from people when I say, hey, what did you get from this training? They said, you know, I learned how much I didn't know what I thought I knew. How much more there is out there. There's so much available in terms of tools and techniques to be effective as a coach. So that is probably the reason you're interested in today's webinar, I'm guessing, I know, wanting to find out, okay, what is it about coaching, the certification, that kind of information. So in today's conversation in this webinar, let me share with you our agenda of what we'll cover. We're going to define coaching, talk about what it is. We'll get into some industry statistics for coaching. We'll walk through the Center for Coaching Certification Staircase to Success coaching model. We're going to talk about some of the pros and cons to certification and the reasons people choose to pursue certification. We'll cover what to look for in a certification program because there are lots of options out there. We'll talk about the opportunities for people that are doing coaching and pursuing it. And then, of course, we'll give you a good overview of the Center for Coaching Certification program. So diving right in, definition of coaching. Executive, career, business, or life coaching is a strategic partnership in which the coach empowers the client to clarify goals, create action plans, move past obstacles, and achieve what the client chooses. And I am getting a question in already, so great, thank you for that. The question that came up in the panel is coaching different from mentoring, and then how? So in response to that question, yes, coaching is very different from mentoring. Let me go here. A mentor is somebody that has experience. They're a voice of wisdom. And the intention of the mentoring process is to pass on that knowledge, that wisdom and experience to the person that has the mentor. In coaching, the difference is that we start with the premise that the client is their own best expert. And the purpose of the coach is to listen effectively, ask questions, expand the thinking for that individual, and empower them to really explore their own possibilities, choose from their options, develop their strategy, and create an action plan that they follow through with. So that is the difference between mentoring and coaching. Again, thank you for that question. Great question. Okay, industry information, a few statistics for you. Starting with a quote, Denison University said coaching is now the organizational development tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. Just to give you an example, one of the executive coaching clients that I have, when we first set up the relationship, said to me something that I use now. She said, I feel like I've arrived, like I got the corner office with a window because the company is paying for my coach. And that is how it is perceived in the working world. So that is a great insight and perspective for us. Another statistic on coaching. 86% of companies use coaching to sharpen the skills of individuals targeted as future leaders. This is from a Right Management study that was done 7 years ago. And companies are increasingly aware of this. They are identifying their high potential employees and having coaching as part of the strategy for developing their skills and advancing them in those leadership roles. Currently, coaching is the second fastest growing profession in the world. It is rivaled only by information technology. It is growing fast, and that's exciting to me, particularly in these economic times. There's a reason for it. Manchester did a study. They found that there is a 570% return on investment for coaching services. Triad Performance Technologies did a study on coaching within sales teams, and they found 1,000% return on investment. Xerox did a study, and they found that if they did a training without coaching, 87% of the information was lost. So adding the coaching made that kind of a difference for people. Let's look at some of the reasons people hire a coach. From a corporate perspective, when they're hiring coaches for their clients, the top reason is to develop the high potentials or facilitate transition. 48% of the time, this is what is cited. Next on the list is to act as a sounding board 26% of the time. Typically, high-level executives find coaching beneficial to them for this very reason. Just 12% of the time are coaches hired to address derailing behavior. This study is from a Harvard Business Review, and a fascinating add-on in the same study, what they cited is that 76% of the time when a company or an individual is hiring a coaching for workplace executive coaching, personal issues are addressed. And sometimes people say, well, wait a minute, this is all about the job. And the reality is we recognize that whatever is happening for somebody comes to work with them. And so it makes sense to enhance their productivity, their focus and performance, that sometimes personal issues do come up. Let's dig further. Why do individuals hire a coach? Well, the top reason cited for someone who is paying for a coach out of their own pocket, number one, their career. They are either looking for that career start or they're transitioning in their career. And so that is a top reason cited. Really high on the list, business management. Small business owners have technical expertise. So having a coach is rounding out the package for them to be effective in operating their business and building it so it grows. We are seeing this grow exponentially. Simply, it makes sense. The businesses that bring in a coach for the owners of the business continue to grow and develop effectively. Self-esteem. Sometimes people are surprised by that one, and yet it makes a lot of sense. We're all human. Human beings struggle with confidence and self-esteem. Different amounts, different times in our lives, it is a factor for people. And then, of course, you've probably heard this buzzword, work-life balance. Having a coach for work-life balance makes sense. When people do go to find a coach, 46% of the time, they find that coach through referrals or through word of mouth. Just 58% of the time, just to detect that, they hire the first and the only coach they talk to. This is amazing to me. But it makes sense. If they're getting that person through referrals or word of mouth, they're going to have a comfort level with that individual. So 58% of the time, they hire the first and only coach they talk to. In the industry itself, the top reasons for selecting an individual as a coach are experience, coaching in a similar setting, that goes back to the references and the referrals, and then having a clear methodology. And in that clear methodology, we're talking about really putting that client in charge of being their own best expert. Let me dig further with that. The Center for Coaching Certification Staircase to Success coaching model really is focused on the client. So go with me. Imagine the coaching process as a staircase leading to a doorway called success. The client is the person who defines success. The coach upholds the foundation of the staircase. And the coach walks with the client up the staircase. So here's what it looks like. The stairway to success requires a foundation. The foundation consists, first off, of training, coach-specific training where you have the insight and the information on the skills, the techniques, and the tools for coaching. Competency. The International Coach Federation publishes 11 core competencies. We will go through that list for you today, developing your skills in those areas. And then, of course, a code of ethics. And while I say of course, it is significant to recognize that sometimes this is covered and sometimes people are unaware. So very important that these three things are in place in order to start a coaching relationship. Once the coach has these three in place, it's time to start this process of coaching. And how do we start it? Well, the first step is to have an agreement. It's a conversation, what is coaching, what isn't coaching, and then a written agreement for the coaching relationship. After the written agreement is in place, the next step is understanding. Very specifically, it is incumbent upon the coach to understand the client, who the client is, how they think, how they process information, and what's significant to them. And through this understanding, developing rapport. Rapport in a coaching relationship is a top indicator in the success of the coaching relationship. It means the client is comfortable openly talking, discussing, and considering some of the different options. So developing rapport is incredibly significant. This is enhanced through effective communication. How it's said on the coach's part and openly communicating on the client's part. And through the communication process, there is an exploration of what is important to the client, what are their priorities, what are the possibilities, and how are they going to do it? Because through exploring, they're developing their strategy, specific measurable action steps to move them to that doorway called success. This is a model of the flow of that coaching process. We set it up properly, and we have a flow. What does this mean to individuals? Well, think about it. When they ask you whether or not you've had any training on coaching, doesn't matter. Well, Harvard Business Review did a study, and here's what it cited. 29.2% of the people who hire a coach say the training, your background in coaching, certification specifically, is very important. 28.5% say it doesn't matter, not important at all, which means the other 42% assign some level of value to certification, between the not important all the way up to very important. So if you do the numbers, that means 70% of the people who are hiring coaches do assign some level of value to that certification. Now, pros and cons to certification. Why bother? Why do it? What's good about it? What's bad about it? So let's start out with some cons. The first one, realistically, is it takes time. Chances are you're very busy. It takes time to go through a certification class. It's time attending the class. It's time doing homework. The other con is it costs money. These two reasons are the barriers that hold people back from a certification. So what are the pros? Why do it? One of the big pros is career advancement. Whether you are doing internal coaching or external coaching, it is advancing a career. And increasingly, jobs are actually requesting or even requiring coach training. More and more often we're seeing this. It is becoming a core competency in many professions. Another pro is the business development. Whether you're planning this as a part-time or a full-time business, increasingly savvy individuals are asking about your training in their process for hiring a coach. Very interesting to me that the fastest growing demographic, by the way, for hiring a coach is the 25 to 35-year-olds. And the reason behind that is because they're on the internet, they're researching, they're seeing it, they're very savvy, looking it up. And in addition to that, they're very open to what the benefits of coaching are for them individually. When you consider coaching certification programs, what are the reasons for choosing any particular program? At the Center for Coaching Certification, here's what we hear most often. First thing that's important to people is the credibility. Because if they're going to talk about getting certified, they want to be confident in who they say did the certification with them, where they took their class. The next reason is the coaching tools, because during the class, you are given so many tools for coaching that support you during the class, during your learning process, and support you in your business as a coach after you complete certification. The ongoing support offered by the Center for Coaching Certification is significant. We offer free continuing education webinars. We have webinars after certification on the business side of it, on marketing yourself as a coach. Lots of opportunities available to you, both through social networking and through the organization directly, to continue your learning, your engagement, your interaction, and your access to information. Professional development is one of the key reasons cited. It often is part of an individual's plan in their own professional development. And the reason they like the Center for Coaching Certification is the level of the content. How do they find out about it? Increasingly, one of the top ways people are finding us is they talk to somebody who's taken the class. And so they hear about the level of content, the benefit of it, and it's making a difference in their reason behind choosing. The other one, and this tends to surprise people, I hear it after they've completed the class, personal development. They're amazed how much they gained. They said, you know, I expected to get something out of it for professional development. I got way more than I expected. And the personal development wasn't even on my radar screen, and I learned so much. So this is the feedback we receive from people. Now, of course, when you're making a choice, you're looking at so many different options. Ultimately, there are over 300 different programs that do coaching certification. That's a lot of choices. How do you even begin to choose one? So let's boil it down. There's a couple of basics that really make a difference. We talked about the cons of coaching certification. One was the cost. Well, the range out there is $800 to $10,000. I've even seen specials where you can do it for a couple $100. That's a pretty big range. The Center for Coaching Certification is $1,295. The next area is the level of training. How long does it take? I've seen a few hours and a quick online certification, and I've seen programs that take 10 years. At the Center for Coaching Certification, it's 30 hours, and it's completed over several months. The next reason, location. Finding a program that makes sense for you in terms of accessing it. Some programs are online. Certain programs require you to fly across the country. So what is it that works for you? At the Center for Coaching Certification, we offer classes in major cities across the country. Each major city we're in once a year, and then we also have the same program available in a completely online version. So you have choices based on your preferences. When you're looking at a program, what do you want in that certification? Well, I mentioned earlier that the International Coach Federation defines 11 core competencies. Let's take a quick peek at what those competencies are. So the first one cited by the International Coach Federation is the ethical guidelines. Having a code of ethics, subscribing to it, being accountable to that code of ethics, really walking the talk. Very significant. Some coaching programs teach ethics, some it's not on the agenda. When you are looking for a coach certification program, find out if they cover ethics and talk about some of the dilemmas that come up and provide a code of ethics. The next one is a coaching agreement. When we have a coaching relationship, we sign a written agreement with our clients before we even start. Does the program provide you samples of coaching agreements and give you perspective on that? Trust and intimacy. Well, one of the skill sets in working with the client is developing that trust and intimacy. Back to having rapport so that they're very comfortable openly discussing whatever it is that comes up. Does the training program teach you how to develop rapport with the individual client so that they're comfortable trusting you and they're comfortable really openly sharing what they want to do? The fourth skill is coaching presence. And sometimes it sounds like, duh, of course. And then the reality is being truly present and in the moment is a skill. Because we're so busy, we have so much going on, how do I flip that switch so that I'm there? Active listening. Funny thing, if you ask other people, hey, are you a good listener? Most people say yes, I'm a good listener. If you ask people, do you think other people are good listeners? Most people say no. Okay, wait a minute, there's a bit of a gap there. So active listening, as much as we like to believe we're good at it, is a skill that we continue to learn and develop over time. So does the program cover active listening skills? Powerful questioning. Huge in coaching. What are the questions to ask? How does the way you ask the question make a difference? In the coach training program, you want to be sure that there is information on different types of questions and how to formulate effective questions. Direct communication. The words you use, the language, is it clear? Is it respectful? Is it proactive in moving that client toward what they want? Creating awareness. When a client is considering different possibilities, do you as the coach have the ability to expand their thinking, explore further, and ask them questions about different perspectives. Designing action. It boils down to developing those effective strategies for how they're interacting with others and how they're moving forward. And from there, very specific, measurable planning and goal setting. What exactly do they want, and how exactly are they taking steps to move in that direction? And then accountability, because as coaches, we serve as accountability partners. How does that client prefer to manage accountability, and how do you support it as a coach? In coach training programs, it's significant that these areas are addressed. These are the core competencies for a coach, and it's important they're covered in your training. More on what to look for. A couple of basics. The quality of your training program. So there may be lots of training programs out there. How do you know if it's any good when you attend it? What I can share with you is that the Center for Coaching Certification, our niche for training people in coaching, includes those who are members of ASTD, SHRM, SPA, NAVO, AICI, ICF, and IACET. These are professional membership organizations. Specifically, we are targeting people with a high level of experience and education in this training program, because we take what you already know, we build on it, we apply it to coaching specifically. So that is our niche in terms of the training class itself. Also significant is the approval by the International Coach Federation. They are a leader in the industry in terms of coaching. Oh, great question. I had a question come up on the panel. Is coaching regulated? What's happening with that? Currently, coaching is what we call an uncontrolled industry. Your timing on this question is great. While it is uncontrolled, anyone can say they're a coach and offer coaching services. The ICF is a leader in terms of this. I believe that coaching is actually moving toward either self-regulation or the potential for being regulated by government. And the reason for that is people are putting themselves out there as coaches without any training or background, and it's presenting some challenges. The International Coach Federation is, based on my research, the most well-known. They're the most significant player in terms of coaching in our country and internationally. So it's a big deal to have that. Yes, they've looked at the program. It covers their core competencies, and it covers the code of ethics. It is very specific on what is covered in training. Okay, great follow-up question. And actually, I think it's from somebody different, but it's great follow-up for this. So they're asking me, okay, if I do want to join ICF, what does that mean? So ICF is a professional membership organization. They are currently requiring 30 hours of training before you're allowed to join. They are changing that. As of April 12th of next year, they're going to begin requiring 60 hours of their members. They are having a transition period so that members have time to obtain the additional training hours. The Center for Coaching Certification does have an option available to you. You've probably noticed on the website that there's an option for a Master Coach training program to provide those additional 30 hours. And then in this question, there's a second part to it. So it's saying, what about the designations the ICF gets? So the ICF offers 3 different designations, the ACC, the PCC, and the MCC. Each of their designations requires that you have a set number of hours in training and requires that you have a set number of paid coaching hours. And so what happens is you start with each of these areas, you build up those hours to obtain those other designations. So it's a process over time. The Certified Professional Coach program that the Center for Coaching Certification offers is a step toward those additional designations. So great question. One other thing that I'd like to share with you I think is significant when you're considering training programs. At the Center for Coaching Certification, the #1 request we had was that people wanted to get continuing education units for attending the class, because most people with a professional designation are required to have a certain number of continuing education hours. So the Center for Coaching Certification is authorized by the International Association for Continuing Education and Training to provide CEUs. This speaks to the quality of the training itself. So the ICF focuses on the content, coach-specific, covering the core competencies in the Code of Ethics. The International Association for Continuing Education and Training focuses on the quality of a training program. We are unique. To my knowledge, we are the only coach certification program that does offer CEUs. So I'm very excited about that and excited that I get to share that with you. Okay, who benefits from coaching certification? We're finding that people in the leadership role, managers and supervisors, benefit from coaching. They're taking it back to the workplace, and they are more effective in motivating employees, enhancing productivity, creating that buy-in to what's happening on the job. Trainers benefit because when people go to a training program, there's a 22% improvement. When they add coaching in with their training, there's an 86% improvement. So it absolutely makes sense as an add-on for people that do training. Human resource professionals. If you're a member of SHRM, you're probably hearing more and more about coaching. It's becoming one of those competency areas in the field. Project managers. They're working with a number of different individuals. They're coordinating, and the ability to effectively set goals, motivate people, and get that productivity absolutely enhances the work that they're doing. Consultants benefit from coaching certification. A consultant is hired because they're an expert. They go in, they analyze what's going on, and they say, okay, here's the plan. When they add coaching to that, it's about creating that ownership, that buy-in, and that follow-through. So it's very powerful. And then, of course, business owners, because they're applying the coaching skills with their employees as they're gaining employees, and in addition to that, finding that those same skills make for very effective customer relations. So it's a powerful skill in that arena. What are your opportunities when you obtain a coaching certification? Many people use it in their current job. That's the reason they're taking the coaching certification. They plan on starting to apply it right away when they complete the program. Of course, it does create career opportunities. Sometimes it means advancing. Sometimes it means obtaining a new job that is asking for that coach training. It's a skill development. So most of us define, okay, this year these are my goals for my professional development. And coaching is about skill application, actually using those skills. How do I apply them? And of course, there are many, many opportunities for both a part-time or a full-time business for those of you that are interested in coaching as an entrepreneurial opportunity. Oh, great question. I'm guessing that refers to in the current job. So the question that came up is, how often are companies hiring internal coaches versus external coaches? Back to applying it in the current job. I find that increasingly companies are doing a combination. So internal coaching makes a lot of sense in a number of different areas, and sometimes there are employees that are simply going to talk more with someone who is outside the company. So when you have an internal coach, the benefit is somebody that is in that corporate culture and gets it. And when you have an external coach, the benefit is just the opposite. They're not involved, and so it's an opportunity to do some exploration. So I am seeing both. And when companies think about having a coach, a combination is most common of both internal and external coaches. Great question. Okay, let's delve into these job opportunities and what it means. A Gallup poll tells us that more than 1 million people employed in the U.S., the number one reason they quit their job is a bad boss or immediate supervisor. What does coaching have to do with that? Well, think about it. In coaching, we learn how to work effectively with others, develop rapport, and how to motivate them. That makes a huge difference when you apply it in the workplace. Let's go further with this. Business News published that in 2011, and in this economy, this is amazing to me, 84% of workers want to quit their job. That's huge. And here's the quote. This finding is more about employee dissatisfaction and discontent than projected turnover. So back to what coaching does. When a manager, a supervisor, a leader, an HR professional has the coaching skills and they work with that individual on exploring what do they want and how are they getting there, it's absolutely making a difference in the workplace because they buy into what they're doing. They're motivated. They have a plan for how they're moving forward. Specifically, in developing this skill set, what's happening is the communication skills are developed. We talked about listening as a core competency. We talked about that direct communication, which is the assertive language. And we talked about questioning. In coach training, we learn people skills. How do you recognize some of the different personalities and flex to them so you're effective with different people and what motivates them? And then, of course, goal setting. It's an effective process. Coaching is an effective process for creating change and motivating the follow-through. It's making a difference on the job. We also covered coaching business opportunities. So let's boil some of that down. The hourly cost for a coach in the United States ranges from $100 an hour to $3,500 an hour. The median rate is $500 an hour. Right now, there is one coach for every 29,000 people in the United States and Canada. There is lots of room here for coaches. It absolutely is making a difference. These numbers, by the way, come from the International Coach Federation. Okay, good question. So if somebody's brand new in coaching, where do they tend to fall in that hourly rate? I can share with you if outside of any other work they do, they're just getting started in coaching, usually what I'm seeing is 100 to 150 an hour. Now, of course, if somebody currently has a business where they do consulting or training work, then I tend to see hourly rates closer to the $200 to $300 range when they first get started in coaching. So some of it is based on where they're at currently. Good question. Okay. Think about what it does for a business. It's an opportunity to get out there and offer additional services, or it's an opportunity to start a business. When you do start a coaching business, what is significant is having the basics in place for setting up a business and how you market yourself as a coach. You'll find, if you do your research, that that's one of the biggest differentiators in people that are successful developing a coaching practice. So that is one of the reasons that we offer that kind of information and support. Okay, let's go through what the certification program offers you. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we start with a live webinar series. That's 5 online classes, very much like the one you're in right now, with the key difference being that everyone in the class is on live, which means we unmute you and you're talking. You're asking questions, answering questions, participating in discussion. You actually get to know your fellow classmates through the conversation on the internet. The webinar series includes About Coaching, In this webinar, we're talking about what a coach is, what a coach isn't, the parameters of the coaching relationship. Then we cover ethics. We do a webinar going through the Code of Ethics and talking about some of the dilemmas that come up. Because when you have the conversation in advance, consider some of those things. It's very helpful so that when something does occur, you have an idea of how to handle it or where to go with that. Understanding your client. How do you recognize their personality, who they are, how they think, process, and function? And when you recognize that, how do you adjust so that you're effective coaching them? Our fourth webinar is on communication. We delve into listening skills, direct communication, the language, assertiveness skills, and questioning. Types of questions and how to formulate effective questions. Powerful information. Our fifth webinar is on neurolinguistic programming. Very specifically, how we can understand others more effectively, communicate with others in developing the rapport with them, and then also about how they define what they want and what difference it makes in whether or not they achieve it. Here's my favorite example. Perhaps you've heard somebody say, "I'll try." And when we hear the word try, in our minds we're aware, oh yeah, chances are it's not going to happen. Well, the word try is actually an instruction to human brains saying, you know, you don't really have to do it. And so they go, oh, okay, I don't really have to, and they don't worry about it. Well, it's important to recognize as a coach the difference between being proactive, actually moving toward what they do want. So powerful insight on that fact. After each of the webinars, you're given a research report assignment. You're provided with 3 questions to answer. It's a 2-page report, and it's based on the information that's covered in that webinar, and you're invited to do more outside of that. We have specific recommendations for you on that. Each of those report assignments takes, on average, about 90 minutes. So the webinars are 90 minutes, and then the homework assignment, on average, is 90 minutes. Following that, we do your class. What that means is trainer-supervised real-time coaching. What happens is this. You're partnered with others in the class. You will coach someone else. Someone is going to coach you, and you will have an opportunity to observe coaching sessions. Hands-on application. Fabulous experience to really learn from doing and learn from being coached. Because when we coach someone else, it is significant to actually experience having a coach and what that means, what it does. At the completion of the real-time coaching that you do, we give you a case study to complete, a final, if you will. Now, after you complete these components, you have earned your Certified Professional Coach designation. And after certification, we've got more available to you. Specifically, we have 2 webinars that are optional. The first one is called The Business of Coaching, and the second one is called Marketing Yourself as a Coach. The reason these are optional is we find that sometimes people are applying this on the job, and because they're not going to start a business and market themselves, these webinars offer little value. For those that are planning on coaching as a part of full-time business, it absolutely makes sense to jump into these webinars. They're included with your program. They're optional as to whether or not you want to attend. Great information when it's significant to you. What are the next steps? Well, the first thing that we have for you is to complete a free application on the website. Here's what the free application does. For you, it's a chance to say, okay, I get it. I'm checking off what the requirements are to complete my certification. And it's an opportunity for you to tell us about yourself. What does that do? That means when we have the training program, we have a good understanding of who's in the class in terms of experience and education, because we want it to be functional, effective, and highly beneficial for you. So that application gives us that insight, some information about you. Now, at the beginning of today's call, I mentioned that I had something special for you. Here's what it is. You're on the call. We'll give you a free 30-minute coaching session. Now, of course, we have to have a caveat to this. So here's the caveat. Schedule it within the next 24 hours. The way to schedule it, just send an email. You can do it directly through the website, or you can reply to your link for today's webinar. Just let me know you do want that free 30-minute session. Now, how do you use it? Well, I can share with you. I've had one person on the call use it because they were actually exploring a new job possibility. They had a job and they were being offered something different. I've had some people use it to say, you know, I'm not sure if I really want to do coaching. And so I just want a sounding board to start bouncing some things off and do some exploration. I've had other people say, you know what, I got a whole list of questions. Can I just ask questions? Whatever it is you want, you've got that free 30 minutes. The only thing it takes is to send an email, say, yes, I want it, and to start talking about the schedule, what works for you in terms of making it happen. When you do decide you want to attend the certification program, there is one additional step. That's reserving your place and paying the registration fee. And yeah, actually perfect timing. So how much is that? As I mentioned earlier, it's $12.95. So right there on the website, you have two options. When you fill out the application, it takes you into the place where you reserve your place and pay. The other option is you can access that directly from any of the inside pages on the website. So it's easy for you to do that. When you reserve your place, do let us know. If you want to take the class in one of the cities, it's the combined learning, the webinars and the live class. Name the city where you'll attend the live class portion. If you're doing the entire program online, please name that as well, that it's going to be in the virtual class. The schedules for each are on the website. If you visit the schedule page, you will see that information there. At this point, I do want to say thank you very much for your time, your participation. I appreciate your interest in coaching and in coaching certification. I would love to take your questions, provide answers to whatever information you want, and then also invite you to visit our website at www.centerforcoachingcertification. In terms of questions, if you would just type them into your panel, that would be great. We can answer those. I am aware that many of you have busy schedules, so if you have to get back to your day and what you have going on, please know that if you send an email, we'll be responsive to that. And I, of course, am available by telephone. So happy to answer those questions, and I appreciate you putting them in there. Okay, so some of the questions are coming up. You want to know more about ICF membership and the change they're going through. Okay, great question. So specifically, if you join the ICF right now, they're going to require that you have 30 hours of coach-specific training. Starting April 12th of next year, they're going to require 60 hours. If you join now, on April 12th of next year, anyone who is already a member who has less than 60 hours is going to receive a notice saying you have 1 year to complete an additional 30 hours. So there obviously is a benefit to joining before April 12th. If you have 30 hours before then, you'll be given a year to obtain the additional 30 hours. If you join after April 12th of next year, you must have 60 hours of coach-specific training to join the ICF as a member. At the Center for Coaching Certification, here's what we're doing. The Certified Professional Coach program is 30 hours. So with that, if you're joining now, you'll be able to do that. Because of this change that they're doing, the obvious answer, the easy one, is our second class, which is called the Certified Master Coach program, takes and builds on what's offered in the Certified Professional program that will be another 30 hours. An overview of that program is on the website so that you have a chance to see how it adds to what is covered in the Certified Professional Coach program. So great question on that. Oh, and the question on their membership, off the top of my head, the cost of membership for the ICF is in the couple $100 ballpark. I want to say a number, and I'm hesitant because I'm not totally positive. My recollection is there. So I'm going to leave it in that ballpark of a couple $100 to become a member of the ICF. Okay, good question. When you join the ICF, yes, the Code of Ethics the ICF is there, and all members of the ICF do sign on saying, yes, I agree to abide by the Code of Ethics and be accountable to it. And yes, the ICF does have a process so that if a client has a complaint or whatever it is, they can actually go to the ICF and say, hey, this coach, whatever it was, and the ICF can investigate that. That adds huge value for coaches just because we know, okay, these are the ethics. This gives me something that I can refer to and say, hey, I've got to abide by this. These are my guidelines. It gives us parameters in how we function. And then, of course, it has huge benefits for the client in terms of knowing, okay, this is what it is and how it works. So good question on that. Okay. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So my question comment is you've had a chance to visit our YouTube channel. And so I'm glad to see you've had a chance to do that. And glad to see that you've had a chance to watch those video testimonials. Yes, every single one of those is somebody that attended the class. I often hear from people, yeah, I actually knew someone, so that's great. And what we do is when we do the class, we ask people if they'll do that video testimonial so that you have a chance to hear from different people what their perspective is. And yes, on that YouTube channel, we do have webinars that are loaded there. So we've started loading the continuing education webinars we offer. Of course, when you listen to the recording, it's not the same as getting the continuing ed. It is an opportunity to get the information. So those are there available as well. So good. Thank you. Yes, we are on LinkedIn as well. And we do have a group on LinkedIn. It is people that are coaches and actually people that are thinking about becoming coaches. So it's a fairly broad mix. Great place to ask questions and participate in some of the dialogue going on coaching. Yes, the ICF does have a page on LinkedIn as well. Lots of great discussions there too. So good questions. Okay, you want to know, yes, how to reach me directly. All right, I'll go ahead with this. Email address for me, and my name is Kathy, by the way. My direct email is trainingdirector@centerforcoachingcertification.com. So just like the website, with the addition of training director at in front of that. Our telephone number is on the website. It's 800-350-1678, right on the website. I'll also go ahead, yes, you're welcome to call me directly, and my direct line is 843-209-2641. You may use that to schedule that 30-minute session, or even if you just have a quick question or two, happy to answer that for you. So, and I'm getting a number of you saying thank you, and I just want to respond to that in kind. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. And, yeah, thanks for the heads up. I do realize you have busy schedules. It is possible that I've missed somebody's question just in the flow of questions because they scroll down. So if I have not yet answered your question, please do type it in again. I do want to make sure I answer that. Let me know what else I can answer for you. Because our numbers are manageable on the call at this point, if you would like to ask live, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, and I will unmute you if you have a live question. And I know sometimes people prefer typing it in, and that works too. And so on your panel, you have a picture of a little hand, and if you click on it, it'll raise your hand on my screen so that I know you've got it up and want to ask a live question. At the same time, what I'll share with you is, yes, I'll have this recording on YouTube. What I'm going to do is stay on after the call as long as any of you are here so that I can answer additional questions, be of service, whatever I can do just to be helpful for you. So thank you very much for your time, for your participation. I appreciate that. And I will end the recording and hang around afterwards to ask additional questions. So thank you all.